Good morning to one and to all. It is the 21st of February, 2022. Happy Monday. I have some very interesting news from over the weekend. Little bits of Tesla news, including a new Tesla GigaFest happening down in Austin later next month. Also, actually later in a couple of months. Also, Ford is in the news for good and for better or for worse with a chip shortage issue causing some cars to stack up, but also a new partnership, which you're going to want to hear about. All of that and more is to come today on Daily Car News. All right, our first story today, Tesla has produced its 1 millionth 4680 battery cell. This was earlier the year in January, but the news made headlines when Tesla posted it to their social media late Friday afternoon. Congratulations to Tesla. 4680 cells are their future. They are investing in it. This is their new battery. It's not like the 2160 sort of typical lithium-ion battery you would find in flashlights and whatnot. This is their own sort of in-house developed battery, which if you are a Tesla fan, you would remember from Battery Day a couple of years ago. It looks to be about yay big, and it is their new sort of, I guess, their cornerstone for their next new vehicles ahead. This is part of their structural battery pack, which is a different kind of construction they'll have for their new vehicles. But they have celebrated in January because they've made their 1 millionth cumulative cell since 2020 when they started making these batteries. So congratulations to Tesla on that. The 4680 cells will be necessary in, I guess, future Model Ys, Model 3s, Model S's, the Roadster, the Plaid, right? So all of these cars, the Cybertruck, they all need these 4680 cells and the structural batteries in order to be a thing. So awesome to see Tesla's, incredible progress in such a short amount of time. I have a stat here from way back during Tesla Battery Day. The batteries are 46 millimeters by 80 millimeters, so 4.5 centimeters by 8 centimeters tall. They, contain 5 times the energy from previous, an extra 16% of range, and 6 times the power from their previous normal lithium-ion 2170 cells. So these batteries pack a punch, and they have made 1 million of them so far, and of course millions more to come. Now we're going to spring over to Austin, Texas, where Tesla has, or at least Elon has announced the date of their GigaFest. Yes, the official, I guess, officially unofficial or unofficially official opening of the Gigafactory just outside of Austin, Texas. If you haven't seen pictures of this thing is massive. They're planning a gigantic solar paneled roof, of course, on top of it. And it is, I can't even describe how gigantic this building is. You see semi-trucks parked next to it, and they look like Legos. They're huge. This thing is huge. So, the official unveil, the official party will be on the 7th of April, not the 1st, which Elon tweeted and then retweeted later, a few hours later. Actually, April 7th is when he said, in reply to a tweet saying, Model Y coming out of Giga Texas looks so amazing. Do y'all have a date for the GigaFest yet? April 7th is when we will see that. I'm sure, they'll have, more company updates, probably, an example of the new Roadster, the Cybertruck, maybe even the Semi. If you've seen Tesla parties in the past or photos of them in the past, I'm sure this will be bigger and better because it's Texas. So exciting to see that is happening. I can't wait to see the photos and videos coming out of the Gigafactory when that comes. I know there was a video that Tesla posted when Giga Berlin opened. So they had everything from, it's a party. They had a full-on Ferris wheel and rides and events and test drives of their cars. And I can't imagine that Tesla Gigafactory Austin, Giga Texas, will want to be shown up by Giga Germany. So all of this is very cool to see. I'm excited to see what Tesla is doing in the future, and this will be a place to see it in person. If you are in the Austin area, you might want to go. Our next story comes from Detroit. We're hopping from Texas to Michigan to talk about Ford, where their Bronco, the Bronco, the car I love so much, is sitting in parking lots ready to be delivered, but they can't be because of the 99th percent, the last step, the chip shortage. They are waiting on chips to be installed so that way they can be delivered to customers, right? There is a stockpile of undelivered units available for you, and it's a sad sight to see, but it makes sense. The chip shortage has hit the automotive industry hard since the summer or early summer of 2020, when COVID made its name. And just outside of the Michigan assembly plant, there is a massive number of Ford Broncos, and it's a sad sight to see. But as soon as they get their chips in, they will be delivered. We don't really have an update on this. Tesla has gone the way of eliminating unnecessary, redundant, sort of second layer chips in the steering system to make deliveries, make commitments. And right now, these chips seem to be so necessary for the Bronco that they can't be delivered yet. So we'll have to wait. I know that some vehicles, even some like Land Rovers, right, are being delivered that you have to manually shut your trunk because there is no chip in there. The chips that are necessary to make that happen aren't a thing. So it's sad, but it sucks to see that this is happening to the Bronco, the car that is arguably putting Ford back on the map in terms of, this is, I think, the best car Ford is making right now, and they're sitting undelivered. Even on top of last year's hardtop related delays, where the hardtops were sort of put on incorrectly and they were leaking in. It's a bummer, but it's only, we can only wait for these cars to be delivered as soon as the chips are in. And, they'll be in sooner or later. They will be delivered, and we will see these cars on the road again. So best of luck to Ford. I am rooting for you guys. I can't wait to see these cars back on the road, or at least on the road the first time, so that way we can get them to customers who've been waiting long and hard for their cars. Now, I want to speak about these customers because in January of 2020, or 2022, not even the entirety of 2020 or 2021, 82% of new car buyers said they paid over MSRP, right? That's a lot, but that's not, it's not surprising, right? Especially the way the car market is. Nobody wants to buy a car right now. And if you do want to buy a car, then you're going to have to pay a lot. But crucially, Alfa Romeo was able to keep things under sticker, right? The cars were delivered under sticker to stay competitive, and Alfa Romeo had discounts up to on average about $3,400, right? Which is remarkable. Volvo and Lincoln had average discounts of about $900 to $500 respectively, but Alfa Romeo $3,400 discounts on a lot of their cars, on average. So in today's market, if you want to sell, then you got to do that. And I think Alfa Romeo has made considerable changes in the face of a horrible market to make such sales. But I hope that is working out for them in the future. So we'll have to see what the future holds in terms of the car market, and I hope these prices, come back down. This bubble will eventually pop. And when it does, we'll see what happens to, manufacturers like Alfa Romeo, who've been selling under sticker for about $3,500 around the board. So we'll see. Our next story today comes from Michelin, or as the French like to say, Michelin, where their new unique puncture-proof tire, if you've seen photos of this thing, you've probably seen it floating around the internet or prototypes for the last 15 years or something. I don't even know how to describe this tire. It's sort of like, there's no air, right? So it's like a spring coming from the wheel to the outside of the tire. It's like a rubber spring, but at 360 degrees, right? That's probably the best way I can put it. So this tire you don't need to fill it up with air. You just slap it on your wheel and you should be good to go, theoretically. And Michelin wants to put it on the next generation Chevy Bolt. Very interesting thing there. I wouldn't expect the Chevy Bolt to be the first car to debut such a revolutionary tire from a legacy tire company like Michelin, but stranger things have happened. And I don't know what's going to happen here. The Chevy Bolt isn't the first car to wear these tires, but it might be the first production car to be released with them. Back in 2021, a Mini Cooper SE was seen driving on the roads with a set of these tires. They're airless, sidewall-less, rubber springs, if you will, in a circular shape. They were officially introduced in 2019. Prototypes have been around earlier than that, but I guess, as I like to say, very cool to see. Who knows what's going to happen here. I don't know if a Chevy Bolt in suburban streets is exactly the best place for this tire. It's probably, if you're off-roading, if you live in a place where it's hard to get service, right? And if a, third world country, maybe if you get a flat tire, it sort of ends your day, maybe. But, I guess if you're going to start anywhere, start with the Chevy Bolt in normal roads, just so that way things are controlled, right? So, good luck to Chevy, good luck to Michelin on their new endeavor, and I hope things go well. Speaking of new endeavors, Mercedes-AMG in the EQE, a car that I've been talking about a lot, actually, has been spotted testing with four-wheel steering at work. I wasn't expecting this. So if you're familiar with four-wheel steering, obviously the front two wheels steer left and right, so that way you turn left and right. The rear wheels typically stay straight, and they sort of get pulled along as the car goes, or push along if they're driving, but nonetheless. Now, the Mercedes EQE has rear wheel steering, and this has only been a thing in a few cars. More and more, yeah, sure, but typically in supercars, so that way they can go around corners faster if you're racing, or sort of make more stable lane changes if you are on the highway, right? So if you can imagine the front wheels turning this way, if you're going slow, you want the back wheels to turn this way, so that way the car rotates around a tighter axis. If you're going fast on a highway and your front wheels turn this way and your back wheels turn this way, your car sort of strafes along for a more steady lane change, more stable lane change. I didn't know that this was coming to the Mercedes EQE. I work in car news, and this was very cool to see. It's looking to be about 10 degrees of maneuverability, if you will, on the rear axle here. The front, of course, is, it's a lot of turning radius in the front. That's where you're going to do a lot more of your turning. But the rear, it's there. I'm looking at it right now. Those wheels are turned, and that's just really cool. I don't know if this will be in their normal EQE, the Mercedes EQE, or if this is reserved for their AMG EQE 53 SUV. There you go. And then there's also the Affelturbach tuned version. There you go. That's a word. We'll see. We'll have to see, right? This car is expecting to be about 288 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque. And we're also not expecting it to hit the market until later next year. Excuse me, that would give it an extra 288 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque on top of its already ridiculous 751 horsepower, 752 pound-feet of torque. So this car is going to be nuts, and I can't wait to see what it'll be like. Our last story for the day, Redwood Materials is teaming up with Ford and Volvo to create a free battery recycling program in California. Yes, Redwood Materials, the startup company founded by J.B. Straubel, who's the former CTO and co-founder of Tesla, by the way, if you don't know the name. They are an electric battery recycling startup. So they, take batteries apart, find ways to clean and recycle and reuse the materials, the different components of a battery. So you have, a battery is it's a chemistry experiment. So you have different materials inside interact in different ways to store energy, right? And in order for it to do so, it will have byproducts, and you need to control the in and out and hopefully make more of a circular path of materials there, so that way we're not just creating more waste like we have in the past, right? The materials in batteries can be a non-renewable resource. So we got to make sure that they stay renewable, and the energy of electric cars, the idea of them, stays a renewable resource. Super cool to see that they are working and teaming up together here. Redwood was launched in 2017, so after proving that the recycling part of its company, of its mission, has been profitable a couple of months ago, they are now teaming up with Volvo and Ford. Redwood is accepting all lithium ion and nickel metal hydride batteries in the States, regardless of sort of condition, from these cars and from, I guess, even owners to go ahead and recycle them for future use. So regardless of the make or model of the vehicle, with this technology, we can go ahead and get these batteries recycled. And I guess Ford and Volvo will be taking the batteries, or at least the materials, afterwards. Tesla is doing something similar with battery partner Panasonic. Now, Panasonic is the unspoken third partner with Tesla. From the very, very early days, back in the Tesla Roadster days, Panasonic was there making batteries with them. And so they are almost exclusive partners. And, we'll see if Tesla and Redwood Materials partner up in the future. I don't see why not. But these partnerships are going to be very necessary if we want to see a sustainable future for electric cars. So hats off to Redwood Materials, Ford, and Volvo, for making this program here to recycle batteries. Best of luck to you guys and all the more. Thank you so much for joining me today on this Monday episode of Daily Car News. It has been wonderful to talk to you all again. If you have, of course, as always, if you want to reach out to us, you can reach us on social media at Twitter, @_Daily Car News, @Gary Fasalvo. For me, of course, you can just email us, Gary at Out of Spec Studios, to give us a shout. If you hear anything in the car world and you want us to cover it, give us a shout. We'll look into it and maybe share it with the world as well. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you all have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow on Daily Car News.